He must have known his mother well enough to know that she wouldn't give in just because of a kind gesture. So, the threats continued, escalating to a point where I said enough.
If you don't meet my demands, Mother, I swear I'll burn this house down.
Do it, and we'll save ourselves so much discussion, as there will be nothing left to inherit.
I'll burn it with you inside. I don't care anymore. I have nothing to lose.
You wouldn't dare.
That was crossing a line that should never have been crossed. I had the impression that Todd wouldn't dare to carry out such a threat, since although he tended to be a burden at home and often denigrated both his mother and me, he had never gone so far as to use physical violence against us. Hi, my name is Kate. After a few months of difficult searching, I finally found the perfect job for me. At that time, it hadn't been long since I had left my job as a nurse at a private clinic, where the pay was good but the working conditions left much to be desired. So, I felt like I had won the lottery when Mrs. Ruth hired me to act as both a caregiver and a domestic worker. Ruth was an elderly woman of over 80 years, with mobility issues and terminal cancer, which, for the time being, did not hinder her normal functioning. But we all knew it would soon take its toll, requiring someone by her side at all times to help with the most basic tasks. I had to be in that house every day, cooking for the elderly woman, cleaning, shopping, and attending to any need she might have during the time I spent there. I thought Ruth lived alone, which is why it was so necessary for my shifts to last more than 10 hours. But when I arrived there for the first time, I was surprised to find that wasn't the case.
And who is this?
Her name is Kate. Don't you remember I told you I hired a helper to assist me with the house? Well, here she is.
Oh, right. I had forgotten. Well then, let her do her job and not bother too much.
This is my son, Todd. Excuse his manners, he's not used to having strangers at home, but he'll get used to it.
It's understandable, but I'm sure we'll get along over time. Todd, you don't have to worry. I'll take good care of your mother while you're away.
What do you mean? I live here.
That threw me off a bit. For some reason, I had assumed that Todd, who must have been in his 40s by now, lived in a separate house, that he was independent from his mother, and that it was precisely because of that the elderly woman needed someone to be with her most of the day, ensuring she didn't hurt herself. But no, it turns out Todd also lived with his mother. And not only that, but I soon realized the dynamic they had. Todd had a part-time job at a bar that he only went to on weekends, a couple of hours in the early morning, so the main income for the household was provided by Ruth's pension. After all, she was the one who hired me. The rest of the time, Todd was in the house. He behaved as if the place were his own, and he was doing a great service just by existing and breathing near his mother. He didn't cook, didn't do any household chores, and often complained if Ruth made even the slightest demand or complaint. I didn't like witnessing such disrespect towards an elderly woman, but Ruth always remained dignified, as if she didn't care what her son said. And since my boss was also quite protective of her privacy, I considered it prudent not to intervene unless my help was expressly requested. Todd turned out to be a whimsical tyrant, both with her and with me.
Kate, there's a huge puddle on the bathroom floor. As soon as you finish in the living room, go clean it up.
Clean it yourself since you're not doing anything. I'm here to take care of your mother, not to be your maid.
What? You're the one who's supposed to do it. That's what you're paid for. Just wait until I inherit this place and I'll fire you. Such uselessness as a domestic helper.
Are you two fighting again? If there's something to clean and Kate is busy, I can do it. Anyway, I'm bored of this movie already.
It was obvious that I wasn't going to let my boss do the hard work. As much as Todd infuriated me, I never let it reach the point where Ruth had to do those tasks. As time passed, I realized that not only did Todd live in this house for free, taking advantage of his mother's kindness, but he seemed to firmly believe that, being the only child of the elderly woman and also the person who accompanied her to her frequent doctor's appointments, he would inherit all of his mother's money and properties when she passed away. I thought Ruth might not be aware of the situation, or rather, had decided to ignore it, as unlike me, she didn't seem to pay attention to her son's constant insults and recriminations. But apparently, I was wrong. Not only was Ruth very aware of what she had at home, but she seemed determined to make a change.
Change my will.
Excuse me? What do you mean you've changed it? You don't have any living relatives other than myself. Who the hell are you going to leave everything to?
I know, that's why I've decided to leave all my things to the neighborhood animal shelter. You know I've always admired the work they do, and that money will come in handy for them.
You can't do such a thing.
Why not? I've already done it. Besides, you already have your job and your things. You always boast about being so independent and being with me out of the goodness of your heart. So, wherever my money goes shouldn't matter to you either.
Ruth was harsh with her words because she knew that, although Todd did care about where his fortune ended up, he couldn't argue without revealing himself. Todd was only interested in the monetary amount his mother could provide him, and that was clear from the beginning. In the following days, Todd showed himself to be the exemplary son, always looking out for his mother's well-being, helping around the house like no other, and even doing tasks that weren't his responsibility. Every day he mentioned the will and suggested the possibility of changing it. Ruth ignored him, saying she had already bothered the notary once for that and wouldn't do it again just because Todd was slightly more considerate than usual. Todd had little patience, indeed. As soon as he realized he wouldn't get anywhere with flattery, he changed his strategy.
If you don't change it, I'll personally make sure they declare you insane and invalidate that will.
And how are you going to do that? I'm perfectly fine, thank you very much for your concern.
Whatever you say won't matter as soon as they hear the amount of strange things I'll make up when they ask me. I'll say you've started forgetting things, that sometimes you don't even recognize me, that you have self-destructive behavior.
Well, it's true that there is something I would like to destroy right now.
Todd, you won't do such a thing. If you try, I'll be the first to testify that your mother is in her right mind. That infuriated Todd. I had become Ruth's main ally, and she treated me like a daughter because I always defended her when Todd tried to coerce her. Maybe what he should have done was surrender and start behaving like a considerate human being again, enjoying his mother for the time she had left and perhaps hoping she would reconsider and leave him at least a small sum in her will. But no, Todd wasn't going to do that. He must have known his mother well enough to know that she wouldn't give in just because of a kind gesture. So, the threats continued, escalating to a point where I said enough.
If you don't meet my demands, Mother, I swear I'll burn this house down.
Do it, and we'll save ourselves so much discussion, as there will be nothing left to inherit.
I'll burn it with you inside. I don't care anymore. I have nothing to lose.
You wouldn't dare.
That was crossing a line that should never have been crossed. I had the impression that Todd wouldn't dare to carry out such a threat, since although he tended to be a burden at home and often denigrated both his mother and me, he had never gone so far as to use physical violence against us. But nonetheless, I wasn't going to stand idly by and allow him to try. Without Todd knowing, I started secretly recording him, with Ruth's permission. This way, there was video evidence of him spewing a string of insults daily, constantly threatening with real madness if his mother didn't see reason and change the will in his favor. These threats weren't limited to causing a fatal fire, but also extended to causing a scandal throughout the city. Todd had friends in the press, and he said he would be very capable of speaking ill of Ruth to them, claiming that she had always hated him and was disinheriting him out of spite. Not a single mention that Todd was the one who didn't help his mother at all, and the only contribution he made was minimal, and only because he had no other choice, to maintain the facade of the devoted son in front of the neighbors. Unfortunately for him, that facade fell apart as soon as I handed over the recordings to the police.
This is very serious. We'll have to arrest him for threats and psychological abuse.
Go ahead. I believe that individual is a danger to those of us living in that house. The other day I found a bunch of gasoline cans in the garage, and I fear what he might be capable of doing.
We've seen it while searching the house, and not only that, in the garage. While searching his room, we also found an unregistered weapon and enough ammunition to shoot 12 people. It's better to lock him up as soon as possible.
Faced with the obvious danger he posed to Ruth and to society as a whole, Todd was to be arrested. However, he was tipped off by a neighbor about the police looking for him, which spooked him. He stole a car and attempted to flee the city, but was stopped at a checkpoint for routine checks. When a police officer spotted him, he tried to flee, but a police dog chased after him and bit his butt. Eventually, he was arrested and convicted. I didn't know if he would stay there for many years or just a few, but I was glad he was away from his mother for the time she had left, as she deserved to be able to relax in a healthy environment without having to cater to the demands of an ungrateful son and without having to spend a large part of her retirement income to support him. I stayed with her until she passed away a couple of years later, always caring for her and keeping her company. And it was then, when I was left without a job, that I discovered the last surprise Ruth had prepared before departing. As it turned out, leaving her fortune to an animal shelter was a partial lie. Although she did allocate a small amount of money there, the rest of her assets and bank accounts went solely to me. Thus, Todd was left with nothing, condemned to spend a few more years in prison, while I obtained enough money to start my own business and start over somewhere else. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more stories.